Hi guys, my friends on YouTube, welcome to my channel. So, 30% off on the orchids at the local garden center. What did I do? I had to pay a visit, if not only just to film a bit. Walk about, look at the orchids. That's quite satisfying as well. I don't think I would find anything of interest, but eventually I did. So, we're soon going to look at the new plant I got. And today, viewer request to actually look at the Cambria type orchids and how I care for them and what kinds of garden stuff, as is Cambria and Bratonia and Brassia, Oncidopsis, Oncidium season. Well, the cambrias are generally considered to be a bit more cooler growing orchids, which do not occur in nature. So it's a man-made alliance, so to speak. But cooler growing for what? This is a Cambria. This is the Vuylstekeara Renaissance White. 4 spikes. 4 spikes. Growing. This awesome. So it's a cooler grower. And too cool growing for what? Right now, we're having 19.8, but not long ago, we had 28 or almost 30 degrees for a long period of time in this very room, where this considered a cooler growing orchid sits. So, too cool for what? Or too hot for what? Well, included into the Cambria Alliance, there are the Well, let's not go any further down to that rabbit hole. Right, let's start by looking at where I keep them. They are quite intermediate to warm growing orchids, most part of them. At least you can keep them quite warm. But some of them requires a little bit more to the intermediate side when it comes to temperatures. But still, you can make your own adjustments and try to experiment a bit. That's what I do. Here we have a few. Here we have some more. Up there. Odontoglossum Barclay Star. Or Barclay Svars. Black. Let us go and look at my new orchid. But here they get a little bit of natural light coming in from that window. And this LED light tube. Some of the little bit more cooler growers I keep outside on my balcony throughout the summer period. From June to the middle of September. When it gets a little bit too cool throughout the night. For them. And it usually plumps up and gives us 1 or 2 spikes. Or a couple of buds. We're going to look at a couple of them. I'm going to tell you which ones I like the most. And perhaps repot 1 or 2. We shall see. But firstly, I'm going to look at my new purchase. No. Well, that happens as well. Yeah, I think we're gonna I think we're gonna need to repot this orchid as well. Sooner than I planned. Look. Sitting in this. Some more soil. Doesn't suit any home environment, really. That type of stuff. But it's got roots, and that's a blessing. But I wouldn't have, well, maybe I would, garden an orchid without roots. If I wasn't sure I was going to be able to save it. Can you guess, guys, what it is? You saw me looking at it at the nursery, didn't you? I love these flowers. It's a Miltassia, 12 centimeter orchid. Two stems, quite a few flowers on each stem. That's great. Yeah, it's a spider orchid. Nowadays, they always reclassify everything. A couple of years ago, I would say, yeah, it's a Brassia. That's great. No. Nowadays, it's a Miltassia. Huh? Miltonia and a Brassia. So, just like my former known as Brassia, Shelob token. Now it's a Bratonia or Miltassia, Shelob token. Also a spider orchid, very, very bloom willing. Grows quite fast, so they're very, very easy to divide and sell. A piece or two, they will recover, bounce back very, very shortly afterwards. If it's a strong plant to begin with, as this one is. Two new, beautiful new growth. So there's a lot of vigor into this orchid. This one, well, it could have been a little bit less wrinkled. But I'm not going to, I'm really not going to complain. This was the last one left of this kind. This color combination. But they had others. But as I haven't seen this color combination before, it's kind of pale, but I thought they were really something special. Miltassia Charles M. Fitz. Izumi. Variation Izumi. Correct me if I'm wrong. This time I do not think so. I think it's actually got a little name. Miltassia Charles M. Fitz. Izumi. Yeah. So the little Miltassia is being deep watered for the moment. Yes. It's a very, very funny thing. These two guys. I have another Miltassia. For the moment, obviously, I just noticed 5 minutes ago, in spike. It's never been doing this lousy. It rejected the fertilizer, not the fertilizer. It rejected the pesticide. So I just throw away a few yellow leaves. But in return, she's a stubborn little girl, wants to survive at any cost. So she starts to produce a spike. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the orchid. Look, it's got quite an amazing root system, alive, kicking. It's just some temporary setback for her. For the very first time, I divided that Shelob token golden spider, or Shelob golden spider perhaps, into 4 sections. Yes. And she continuously bloomed for me on the section I kept 1 month later. So she's a very, very vigorous type of orchid, I'd say. It's an intergeneric type, just like this Miltassia, of course. These are both Miltassias nowadays. So, an intergeneric means bringing 2 or more genera together. And into the intergeneric tribe, you can find Brassia, Cochleoda, Miltonia, Odontoglossum, and Oncidium crossed with each other. 2 or more, yes. But in this case, only 2, Brassia and Miltonia. Yes. And I do have a Miltonia species in there, in the cabinet. I'm going to bring her out so you can see a considered cooler growing Miltonia orchid. Yes? Too cool for what? A Miltonia species. Do not pop up very often. Miltonia Moreliana. This is a division from a very, very nice mother plant that our local vendors call her, Åkesson's Orchids, here in Sweden, in Gothenburg city, to be exact. Yeah, she sells orchids, import orchids. So this is from her, as she keep quite a few orchids for herself in her own private collection. Her beautiful Miltonia Moreliana. So she, probably repotted it and decided to split up a piece and take a little section with her to the Orchid Society meeting, which I bought, obviously. And now, its latest growth, growing very nicely. New growth there. So, it's a species. I think that's quite interesting. You never find these guys at the local garden center. Never. You barely find this Miltonia species anywhere. So, as a matter of fact. So, I'm quite proud of me having her. Yes, being the proud owner of this orchid. Well, it's sitting in my regular moss. You can see quite a lot of moss. Since its root system grew very, very fiercely. And wide and fast, for that matter. So I had a real hard time to keep up with watering. Yes, a couple of times a week throughout the summer period. It was a little bit too much for a person like me having over 300 orchids to water separately. Yes. So, a little bit more moss did the trick. Doesn't seem to have hurt it all that much. So, I think that's exactly the concept that I'm going to use for her after I cleaned her off from this nasty soil. Turns out that somebody had her in moss before they added on the loose soil-like peat or whatever it is. So she's a bit adapted to be sitting in moss. So my moss mix will be a great choice. If I would have gotten an orchid with very, very bad roots, that rarely happens. I do not buy an orchid with lovely flowers where I can detect no roots. No. And I wouldn't have bought it in the first place. See what I mean? So, it's a right root system. Cut away the old root system here on these Oncidopsis, and yeah, these are sturdy roots. So the new schemes have already produced the roots, so we'll have to wait for the next one for another new set of roots, but this one will bounce back. If anything happens, it will bounce back, just like the other fellow did. So I'm not worried, not the least. So, bit of spag, shredded spag, more or less. I told you before, I do not want the spag to stay in clusters. The medium should still be able to be flushed through quite quickly. That's my intent. Charcoal. Perlite. Yeah, you know the drill. You've seen it before, probably. This is my special blend. Perlite, charcoal, and moss. Threaded with, mixed up with some bark. Looks alright. Medium grade. Some might say, well, aren't the roots too thin and slim to use this sized bark? Should the slim roots be potted up into medium to small grade bark? Nah, I don't think so. That's my answer. Depends on in which environment you live and in which and what environment you keep your orchids. Period. Yeah. It's not one size fits all. Not when it comes to orchids. Well, it all depends. So, 12 centimeter wide, or maybe it is, yeah, 12. It says here, pot, really nice. A little bit to the bottom, enough space to the front, down you go. And this pot will probably be far too small for it come spring, or at least after next summer. Looks like a vigorous one. Loads of vigorosity, even in this guy. And they are very, very, very popular. The pieces I cut away and sold at the auction gave me a minor fortune. So, I didn't know the spider orchids were that, or shall I say this popular. But they were, or shall I say they are. Still, they are, not were, they are. So, that was nice. And I bet I can even, in a year or two, divide this gal as well. But I do not keep orchids to make money. But a penny or two won't hurt. So I can get some new ones and free up some space. Just like nothing ever happened. Looks as good as new. Yes. And the lifting test. Yeah, it works. That's how I repot a Brassia, or shall we say Bratonia, Intergeneric, Miltassia orchid. So now guys, I'm going to show you something totally different, but still not. Oh geez, I have so many plans. It would take you and me the whole afternoon to film. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to mention a couple of details very, very short, detailed description. Here, another one. Brassia, Eternal Wind, Iwi, Summer Dream. Well, this is a real Brassia. Grows like weed. Got it since May. 4 months from Whitman, as you saw. May order, a free plant. I think it's grown, I think it doubled its size. Or even more. So there's a lot of vigor in this plant. One of its parents are Brassia rex. Quite a huge plant. I had one before, split her up into a couple of sections. Even that one. And eventually I sold the mother plant as well. Yeah. Didn't bloom as frequently as the Shelob. That's why. Only once a year. And the Shelob blooms at least 3 times a year. So that was the difference. So I bet this orchid blooms once a year as well as the real Brassia hybrid it is. Yes? Just wanted to show you how vigorous these Brassia orchids are. If you're ever planning on getting one, and you need to have the space. Eventually you need to have the space. Yes? Here's another splendid orchid. I think. Which one is it now? Yeah, there are actually 2 plants in this little pot. It's the Colmanara, the Cambria type orchid, as I mentioned before. Colmanara painter Tropic Jungle. It's that one. That side. Bloomed a few months ago for a very, very long period of time. And on the other side of the pot sits, Barocco red. I will give you a pop-up. I don't remember its name, really. And that one bloomed at the same time as the other one. So it was a simultaneous blooming for them, just like they adapted and adjusted to each other, sitting inside the very same medium and the very same pot. So that was quite interesting to see. Because when I kept them separately, they were blooming at totally different time periods. Yes? So, but yeah, I would like to have it lower down into the pot, but well, now it's not in active root growth anymore. So I feel no need to lift the whole monster up and disturb it so any further. So it's gonna stay put as it is. It's a wonderful orchid. This also a Cambria, Vuylstekeara. So cooler grower. Carnivale Rio. Thank you guys for his name. Suggested name. It's a bit slower grower, I'd say. Bit more sensitive, but yet plump. Good root system still. And this moss and perlite, bark, charcoal mix. Didn't keep her outside on the balcony. I think that her blooming period is in winter, so we need to wait for these to grow, I assume. Yeah, they might be sometimes quite unpredictable, so you never know. So no, but nothing. Yeah, grew well as well. Well as well. Just gonna fill up a little bit of medium here. So overall, quite an easy bloomer, quite an easy grower. Shouldn't dry out. And a fluffy medium. It's all right. And grows well under intermediate light. Here's a trickier one. One in bloom. With the best scent with no competition, without competition, I'd say. This type of orchids. Oh, it's It's a lovely scent. But it's a poor plant now. It's not doing great. Not at all. Odontoglossum Barkley star. So, we simply need another new growth very soon. We need to get some new roots for her. Alright, 2 spikes. That's funny. That's great. But I did something different. I tried to mimic and replicate. It's the type of medium it was sitting in. Yes. So I added on, or added in, shall we say, coconut husk fiber. Also very, very, very lousy idea. Seems like it had bad roots all the way from the start, yeah. Well, maybe that's why I did it. Loads of leca beads to the bottom to make it a lot smaller pot. That's the idea. Well, that was the idea. But if this is the newest growth, it's a poor plant now. So, well, I'm going to wait for her to finish her blooming, and afterwards I will see what happens. Maybe I'm going to repot her into something different, but we'll see. This one was a smashing one. I did a short video on it, so I was speaking about it, and I wanted a name for her, and you gave me the name. So thank you, guys. But it didn't look like this. So this was a failure in a sense. But yeah, can't win them all, can you? Here's my beautiful, look at the root system, Miltonia Sunset. This one I've divided 6 times. It was a section about this size I brought to the auction last time, yeah. And I even brought one smaller section with leaves and 2 quite leafless sections. Yeah, they told me the latest meeting that it bloomed. Yeah, the one I got from you, it bloomed. So that's great. But this one needs to be repotted. I could even divide her one more time and sell another piece, but no. Now she's going to have to rest for a while. Miltonia Sunset, certainly not a cooler grower. No need for anything, to be honest, except for drying out far too much in between the waterings. This wrinkled leaf is the first one I ever saw on this one. So, it's, yeah, it indicates that, yeah, the moisture level in this pot hasn't been even lately. So, it's been drying up too immensely in between the waterings. I know. It's a quite huge root system for such a small pot. So, obviously, she didn't have many roots when I repotted her. You can see here as well. So, she's going to be put into a bloody pot some other day. But I can recommend this orchid. Really, really. Miltonia Sunset. A good yellow splash. With pink and red to the middle. To the center. Yeah? Look at her. Stefanila. Outside, until most recently, looks like its leaves are sloping a bit. Like, it looks a little bit tired. I'm not sure why. But the plant itself is not lacking out on anything. It's not declining. Look. Yes, lovely root system. So, it's just the way this orchid looks. Beautiful. 2 new growth there. And 1 there. So, I think we're going to see some Stefanila blooms. If I do not forget to water it. Evenly. So, I do have quite a few of the Cambria Alliance and the Oncidium and the Intergeneric ones. I think I'm going to show you guys my Oncidium orchids in another video. I was planning on including the Oncidiums and Tolumnias, which are also Oncidium orchids, just reclassified into the Tolumnia genus instead, but still, yeah, considered as Oncidiums. Yes. But that will be in another video. Yes. As you heard, I was talking a little bit about each and every one of them. I have quite a few different genuses, even though within the same category, Cambria Alliance. So, as they approach its dryness, I water again to avoid wrinkled leaves and death of roots and wrinkled pseudobulbs. In a slightly water-retentive medium, I fertilize a little bit on each watering, especially with a higher dosage when they're in active growth and in bloom. And whilst in bloom, I put them into my favorite on display show corner where I plan to put all of my extravagant blooming orchids. Yes. So, when she's overbloomed, the spot there will probably be replaced by Bratonia, or shall we say Miltassia, Shelob, golden spider. Yeah? Could be. Or Vanda. The spike is growing. Yeah. So, that's how I operate. Some say that, if an orchid blooms, to make the blooms last longer, you shouldn't put her further into the room, away from the window, away from the lights. If you continuously provide the orchid good lights, the blooms will last longer. Yeah, but I do want to see them, so yeah. You cannot have both, but you can have additional lights. Temporarily additional lights pointing right towards them, so you can see them even better, and they will benefit from the light source, the light bulb. So that's how I do it. And if you have any questions, any suggestions, any wishes for me to what to film next, I now have a list full of viewer requests. So I think this is the third one or fourth one. So I have a few more on my list. So bring them on. Viewer request. It's very nice. Thank you guys for all of the beautiful help in the survey and in the comments field. So thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe, and we should talk soon. Bye bye guys.